well, right at the top, run us through the kind of activity you've seen at the bourse today, where we've, of course, as I've just shown, seen the NSC end in the red.
Well, continuing is bearish run that we saw last week. We saw 73 stocks losing and 25 stocks gaining. We saw a lot of banks also on the losing end of the market today. The banks that gained were 5: Skybank, Springbank, Wema Bank. Were among the banks that gained. We also saw some of the top tier banks losing massively. First Bank, GT Bank, UBA remained unchanged, while Zenith Bank also lost. Also in the food and beverage sector, we saw the activity, we saw a lot of Cadbury losing maximum 5%, Dangote Flour losing maximum 5%. So in all today, it was a very muted and bearish run on the market, with profit taking at its maximum today.
Well, you mentioned First Bank in that list of counters that saw somewhat of a pullback today. Of course, it took a while for the market in the first place to react to some of last week's numbers that were released. We had to bear in mind that the share price had been rallying quite extensively ahead of the results, merely on expectations. What's your view on the counter at the moment? Does it have more room to run on a valuation basis?
Yeah, definitely. First Bank has it is a valuable stock to hold, and based on the situation currently persisting in the stock market, we have a lot of short-term investors that actually dictate the pace right now. Before these results were released, there was a build-up towards by the end of March. There was a build-up in which you saw First Bank stocks gaining like 10.4%, and also in the week after 31st of March, when the results were not released, we saw appreciation of 12.4%. So the short-term investors are actually dictating a lot of the market trends currently right now. And long-term investors exist, but the short-term investors dictate a lot of this. So in terms of the stock and the reaction of the market to this, it is dictated by short-term investors, and it does not reflect the quality of the stock or the fundamentals surrounding the stock as a whole.
So for the long-term investors that are interested in the fundamentals, let's take a look at the likes of Skybank and First Bank, because in both instances with these results, the story was pretty much about provisioning. Let's take a look at provisioning levels right now. Is the market confident at this stage of the game that most of the rot is out of the banking system?
Oh yeah, coming from last year, September 2009, CBN actually mandated all banks to actually make full provisioning of bad loans and all whatnot. But the key thing is we've seen a lot of recoveries. You see Skybank, there was a lot of recoveries which actually helped their profit before tax results. So a lot of recoveries that happened in the last quarter of the year, which actually helped those banks to declare better than expected results. So in essence, we have seen most, if not all of the write-offs and provisioning by banks.
While that may be the case, Damilola, I mean, it's still a bit early days for these banks to be releasing dividends to the extent that they are. I mean, we saw Skybank, the latest of the pack, to release a 5 kobo dividend, where this would ordinarily demonstrate some confidence from the company about prospects moving forward. To what extent are these dividend proposals being seen as more a mechanism to lift investor confidence and investor sentiment around these respective banks?
Well, Alishia, there are two ways to look at that. We have companies constantly, Nigerian banks constantly declaring dividends, even whilst their earnings are not as expected. Well, there's a trend. Coming back from the 2007, 2008, where the stock market was doing so well and investor confidence was really high, there was a trend in which case the market is driven by returns. So the companies are always forced to make such returns to the market to, one, building confidence, and also to actually tell them that, yeah, the company is still doing so well. that is a two-way thing. So, but basically, the companies are doing well, but the investor confidence at last year had gone to all-time low. So, it is important for these banks to actually try and renew that confidence, albeit they're making low earning growth, albeit that they need to also make concise and dedicated efforts to give them returns, which is what I think is happening in this case of Skybank, which declared 5 kobo dividends, and also a few other banks that have declared dividends, even though their profits were not high.
Well, certainly, while it was the banking and oil space that stood in the spotlight last week, what are you looking forward to this week, and what specifically will you have your eye on?
Well, this week we're looking at a few more days of profit taking, maybe just tomorrow. But we believe that it will end on a high this week as profit taking activities ease up. Also this week I'm still looking at the banking stocks. Those are kind of the key. I'll be looking at the Diamond Bank. I'll also be looking at Access Bank also. Away from the banking sector, I'll still keep an eye on the insurance sector, Guaranty Trust Assurance. I'll also keep an eye out for Dangote Flour, which has done impressively well in the past few months.